저는 그 어떤 음식도 끊지 않았고 그 어느 때보다 자유롭게 먹습니다. 하지만 저는 제 인생에서 가장 날씬하고 좋은 컨디션을 유지하고 있습니다. 비결은 여러 가지가 있지만 그중 하나는 바로 간헐적 단식입니다. 근데 단식에 대해 관심은 있고 실행하지 못하는 분들은 대부분 비슷한 걱정이나 오해를 하고 있는 것 같습니다. 그래서 오늘은 간헐적 단식을 대중화시킨 선구자라 할 수 있는 제이슨펑 박사의 영상과 저의 경험담을 더해 단식에 대한 오해를 풀어드리겠습니다. 첫 번째, 단식하면 기초대사량이 떨어진다. 굶으면 우리 몸은 기아 모드가 되어 기초대사량이 떨어지고 그 상태에서 다시 먹게 되면 오히려 살이 찐다는 말 많이 들어보셨을 겁니다. 하지만 이것은 단식 그리고 먹는 양을 줄이는 다이어트를 구분하지 못해서 생기는 오해입니다. 아무것도 먹지 않는 단식은 우리 몸에서 식사량을 줄였을 때와는 전혀 다른 대사 반응으로 나타납니다.
Time and counting their calories, they could get their calories down to 1,500, even 1,200. The problem is that the body would burn 1,500 or 1,200 and weight loss would simply stop. However, with intermittent fasting, it's actually the opposite. Instead of dropping your metabolic rate, fasting tends to maintain that metabolic rate. The reason is simple. When you fast, there are certain things that happen in the body. Insulin levels go down, but other hormones go up, and these are the counter-regulatory hormones, among which are the sympathetic nervous system and noradrenaline. As you ramp up the body by stimulating the sympathetic nervous system, remember this is your fight or flight response, you're going to preserve that. In fact, in studies of the metabolic rate with fasting, when they took people who were fasting at day 0 compared to 4 days of fasting and measured their metabolic rate, they found that after 4 days of no food, their bodies were actually burning 10% more calories. So you weren't going into starvation mode. In fact, your body was activating itself. And it's activating itself using energy from your own body, which is body fat, which is exactly what we want to see. So yes, starvation mode happens when you use calorie-reduced diets, but not so much when you use intermittent fasting, and that's a huge advantage for weight loss.
두 번째, 단식하면 근손실 생긴다. 근력 운동을 하는 사람들이 가장 두려워하는 것 중 하나가 바로 근손실입니다. 근손실이 두려워 보디빌더처럼 4시간마다 음식을 섭취하고 심지어는 유산소 운동을 피하는 사람도 있습니다. 물론 단백질이 우리 몸에서 에너지로 바뀌는 대사 경로가 없는 것은 아닙니다. 하지만 그 과정은 간단하지가 않습니다. 우리 몸에는 훨씬 쉽게 에너지로 바꿀 수 있는 지방이 있는데 왜 굳이 어렵게 만든 근육을 파괴할까요? 하루 이틀 굶는 것으로 근육이 손실된다면 사냥으로 먹을 것을 구했던 인류의 조상들은 살아남지 못했을 것입니다.
You might have 100,000, 200,000 calories worth of energy sitting on your body right now. As your body doesn't eat, it's going to look for a source of calories and it's going to take it from the body fat. If muscle were the first place it's going to look, you'd have to think that the human body is just so incredibly stupid as to store energy in the form of sugar and fat, but as soon as it needs it, it's going to burn muscle. It's sort of like spending all summer getting firewood, and then as soon as it gets cold, instead of burning the firewood for heat, you chop up your sofa and throw it in the flames. Like, why would you do that? How would we have even survived as a species if the first thing we did was burn all our muscle? Those people, those cavemen and cavewomen, would have been nothing but little sacks of fat because they would have burned all their muscles and then they would have died and we wouldn't have been here. So it makes no sense from a physiologic standpoint, and we know from our studies of physiology that there's a very, very short period of protein burning, but not necessarily muscle. There's a lot of other tissue in the body that your body would happily get rid of. That is skin, connective tissue, all kinds of things. So all that loose skin that people have when they lose fat, that's not fat, that's protein.
세 번째, 배고파서 못할 것 같다. 사람들은 단식 시간이 길어지면 거기에 비례해서 배고픔의 정도도 증가할 것이라고 생각합니다. 하지만 배고픔은 호르몬의 반응일 뿐 우리 몸에서 영양소가 필요할 때마다 보내는 신호가 아닙니다. 실제로 단식을 하다 보면 한동안 배고픔이 느껴지기도 하지만 잠시 후에 허기가 사라지는 걸 경험할 수 있습니다. 우리는 배고프지 않더라도 왠지 지금 먹어야 할 것 같아서 혹은 이때 먹지 않으면 나중에 배고플 것 같아서 먹는 경우도 꽤나 많습니다. 하루에 3끼를 먹는 건 필요에 의한 것이 아니라 오랫동안 정착된 일종의 문화일 뿐입니다.
In fact, we do see this with calorie-reduced diets. Hunger tends to go up, and if you're more hungry, it's going to be harder to stick to your diet. So people imagine that intermittent fasting is the same thing. There's a hormone that makes us hungry called ghrelin, and we can measure what it does when we do intermittent fasting. While it does go up initially, when you stop eating for a day, it goes back to baseline. That is, think about it this way. When you eat lunch, you're hungry, ghrelin goes up. What if you didn't eat lunch? Well, you'd be hungry at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, but by 4 o'clock, your ghrelin levels have gone right back to baseline. They're normal. They're no different than if you ate. So what happened? Simple. Your body simply took the energy it needed out of its body fat stores, because that's all it is. Body fat is a store of food energy or calories. Because your body is taking the calories from their body, it's not hungry anymore. No different than if it took calories from food. It's simply a stored place. So in fact, when you measure ghrelin, it doesn't keep going up and up and up. People imagine that fasting causes so much hunger that you're not going to be able to control yourself. But in fact, we see the opposite. People say, I think my stomach shrank. I'm not hungry anymore. When people do longer fasts, we know that over 3, 4, 5 days, ghrelin tends to go down every single day. And that's how people used to do these 7-day, 30-day fasts, because they simply weren't hungry. They're fueling themselves on their body fat, and it was fine with that.
네 번째, 단식은 지속 불가능한 다이어트다. 저는 3년 넘게 간헐적 단식을 하고 있습니다. 저는 먹는 걸 좋아하고 살이 잘 찌는 체질이면서 살이 찐 제 모습을 극도로 싫어하는 사람입니다. 그래서 다이어트는 늘 저의 관심사였고 그동안 많은 다이어트를 시도해봤습니다. 그중 간헐적 단식은 가장 쉽고 가장 효과적이며 지속 가능한 방식이었습니다. 왜냐하면 간헐적 단식에는 정해진 룰이 없기 때문입니다. 매일 폭식과 단식을 반복하라는 뜻은 아니지만 하기 싫은 날은 안 해도 됩니다. 또 반대로 많이 먹은 다음 날은 하루 종일 먹지 않아도 됩니다. 하루 이틀 굶어도 우리 몸속에 사용할 충분한 에너지가 저장되어 있다는 사실을 인식하고 있다면 무의미하게 허기를 채우려는 강박에서 벗어날 수 있을 것입니다.
You can find references to fasting in the Bible, so you know that this practice goes back at least 2022 years. In fact, every major religion in the world has periods of fasting. In fact, we have a word, the English word breakfast, or the meal that breaks your fast, means that you should be fasting every day. Fasting is nothing mysterious. It's just a period of time that you're not eating. So think about it this way. If your body has 24 hours, part of it you spend feeding. When you feed, you take in energy, which is calories, and you can store some of that energy. But you're taking in more energies at that time than you can use. So when you're not eating, now you're allowing your body to use those stored calories. If we didn't have this ability, we'd die in our sleep every single night. But obviously, we're still all here. In the past, we used to tell our kids not to snack. Now we tell them to eat all the time, eat all the time, eat all the time, as if our body had no ability to store those calories. In fact, there's too much of those calories. So give your body a break. Give your body a break from eating so it can use the calories that you stored. That's all fasting is. It's not some mysterious voodoo. It's in fact part of a natural feeding fasting cycle. If you want to store more energy, feed more. If you want to use more energy, that is, reduce body fat, then fast more.